Hello, hello. We're here for yet another episode of Learn with Western, and today's topic actually is going to be very closely in line with what many organizations are going to be going through in the next couple of months, which is the annual reviews. And please, can we please take a moment and just pause on how we do reviews? And first of all, first and foremost, can we get rid of the feedback sandwich? We really need to stop it with the feedback sandwich. So, and let me tell you why, Ivan. So if anybody doesn't know what a feedback sandwich is, it's as you imagine it, if you imagine a sandwich where you have positive, negative, positive, meaning that usually you start a feedback conversation with your employee or whoever reports to you from saying something positive, like, Ivan, I really enjoyed the way you completed that project. And then, so we butter them up before we kill them with something negative. And we say, but you could do X, Y, and Z better. And then we say, but you also do meetings very well. So we try to close it with another butter up statement, which is just ridiculous. So what that does, and the reason this feedback sandwich doesn't work is because it's not effective. And it's also almost like, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but it's almost like employees will actually know, like, oh gosh, here we go, somebody's telling me something positive, what did I do now? They cannot, they cannot just kind of stop at the positive aspect because they know something negative is coming. So you're almost creating this like culture where if somebody gives something positive to someone, they know that they've done something wrong, which is not the way we should do it. So, and also it takes away from both sides. So it takes away from the constructive feedback that you could actually give someone because you smash it in between the two positives, which are usually just very not even anything tangible because you feel like you have to say something positive. And at the same time, you take away from the positive that the person does, because it's almost like, and Ivan, you're going to tell us what happens in the brain in a minute, but it's almost like, well, I do something good, but then I don't. It gets confusing. So we really need to step away from this feedback sandwich. A better way to do it, and again, those going into annual reviews does not mean we have a conversation with our employees once or twice a year at the annual and mid-level. It doesn't work that way. Feedback is continuous. Feedback is on the spot. So whenever it's needed, basically, anytime feedback is needed, and if that means every day, once a week, every month, whatever the scenario is in your case, feedback is continuous. And another thing, what I don't like about the sandwich is that it doesn't take into account people's personalities. So we need to realize that when we're giving feedback to somebody, it's going to look very different from one person to another, depending on your relationship with that person, depending on previous conversations, depending on so many factors. You cannot use one standard, the positive, negative, positive feedback for everybody, just simply ineffective. And I know that it's kind of something that we've been doing for a while as leaders in organizations, but there are better ways to do it. And if anything, starting with regular feedback and making sure it's customizable to that specific person, which means the manager really has to think about ways that this person can potentially improve, open-end questions they need to ask them, really help that individual, guide them to what is it that they can possibly improve on. So, and part of it doesn't work, Ivan, right, is because of the way our brain receives these sort of things. So do you want to share something about that?
Absolutely. Elena, let me tell you something. So it is totally right that feedback needs to be done in a frequent basis, on the spot. But also, let's don't forget that feedback could be something positive. If you are doing awesome, let's reinforce the message that you are doing something awesome. And we have to be quite descriptive about the behavior that you did. It's not as simple as you did great, Elena. No, I need to highlight the exact behavior that I think it was amazing. Now, what happens in the brain? So telling people what we think of their performance doesn't help them to thrive or excel. And telling people how we think they should improve actually hinders the learning. So our brain responds to critical feedback as a threat and narrows the activity. As soon as I feel a little bit attacked, my brain is freezing. My brain is reducing my activity. I'm not really listening to you. My fear has light up inside of my brain, and does not allow me to create insights. I'm already frozen. and it generates, of course, a strong negative emotions. If you use criticisms, it inhibits, in fact, the actual neural circuits that we have in our brain that help us process a new learning, because the emotions have taken over, and we start in the cycle of dissonance, of impairment, where we don't really understand what's going on because of our emotions. And something that is very true of what you said, Elena, is that, in fact, the research shows us that the feedback, if we tell the people how they should be doing things, it's a bias. We are communicating our perception, our views of how to do things. So there is a distortion in reality of the truth. Now, I have a couple of tips that we need to consider when giving feedback. So instead of saying, can I give you some feedback, asking somebody about giving this feedback, is to go straight ahead and say, here's my reaction. It is how I perceive the things. It's not how you should be doing the things. It's how I perceive the things. Instead of saying, good job, I could say, here are the 3 things that really work out super well, or that I saw that it was working quite well in the last project that you were in. Instead of saying, here's what you should do, here's what I would do. If I am giving my perception of things as an advice, as mentoring, then I should put it on myself. When we say, for instance, instead of saying that didn't really work, we should be saying, when you did that, I failed, or I didn't understand really how it worked out for you. So we need to give the possibility to people to be accountable, to find meaning, or to learn by themselves, to process the situation, to describe the situation, or as per their perception, being a little bit more with open-ended questions, and so that the person has the possibility to find by themselves how to solve the problem and to find options to make it better. But he needs to be able to describe a situation, and that's the role as a leader that we need to all have. It is to be able to extract this information, to facilitate when we are alone reflecting. We have a perception, and sometimes we are a little bit like stressed in a situation, and we are not able to describe it quite well. But helping someone to go through the work of finding, to decide, to create self-awareness, to be able to describe a situation and see what worked, what didn't work, and what could be the potential options. This is what generates that people are thriving at work, because people do not need to know how to do the things according to your version. People need to find by themselves, so that they are more engaged and they can finally thrive in the workplace, right?
I love it. I love those tips. Let's do it better. Screw the feedback sandwich, please.
Exactly. Let's move it out.